I think one of the most important things on this channel is not just sharing how I do sheet metal work or build a motor or fabricate a frame or whatever I do, but it is sharing the mindset behind all of it. And that's really what I'm hoping to accomplish in this episode, is so that you can see it's not always about demonstrating how we do things, but it's also about talking about the thinking, how I approach things. I think that's important. Welcome back to the shop. We've been committing a neatness all day, and though it isn't one of our normal shop organization series, I thought it was worth circling around and talking a little bit about it. We've been hot and heavy in the shop for the last couple of months, getting Thunderstruck off of the chassis table, getting the cab back on the frame, setting the motor in, everything that we've been doing on that truck that you've seen here on the channel. But I've had just piles of stuff sitting around that I haven't been able to get to. A lot of it is this stuff right here. So we're going to talk about something that's coming down the road, and we're going to talk about a bunch of other stuff. It's not a Talk About It Tuesday, but I think it's an important one. So you might benefit from it. You might get excited about some things going on. And more importantly, I hope that you look at what you're doing in your shop and you can be inspired to get out there and get after it. So let's get after it. I'm Mike. You're watching My Car Shop. My bandmate will tell you that my mouth is often writing checks that my rear end can't cash, but somehow we always do anyway. We just published a documentary about the Central Michigan University performance that we had done, and that was one of those things. That's kind of what this is. I'm not going to get really into what that is, but I'm going to say this is a huge pile of engineering equipment for something that's been a lifelong dream of mine. I've been gathering things for it. I've been planning. I've been plotting. I've been building. I've been designing. Um, and I need to just find something to do with all of this stuff. It's been here, there, and everywhere. I still have some in the house. So that's one of the things I want to do is talk about that just briefly, because not the project, but the mindset when you're gathering stuff, whether it's an engineering project like this or a project like the Citrus Challenger or Thunderstruck. I'm always gathering. As you saw in a recent episode, we just picked up a bug catcher for the 671 blower on the Golden Mullet. And so you get all of this stuff kind of sitting around. And it's important to think, okay, where am I going to put all this stuff that is going to make sense for the future? I'm still in the process of organizing the warehouse. So putting it in the warehouse right now probably doesn't make sense because I don't want to confuse and clutter that. The weather's just finally getting nice enough now that I can actually work upstairs. I was up there today. I wasn't really working, but I was looking for some things, and I thought, yeah, we could actually do some things up here. So the part storage on this side is a train wreck. My staging table up there for the things I have for sale is starting to get cluttered with other stuff. The tool and equipment storage area over on this end is in really nice shape. And the tire shop up over here is not bad. It needs a little work, but I haven't been up there really at all since last fall. So anyway, however, one of the things that I realized was we have taken the motor and the transmission out of the back room here and put it in Thunderstruck. And I was enjoying the fact that I had an open space on the floor there, but I realized this is probably where this stuff needs to go temporarily. I'm going to squirrel stuff into this cabinet and try to figure out how the heck to get it back there. Hopefully that fits through the door. It should. That's a 36-inch door. But here's my point. Putting things together for the project so that you can find them. Now, I realize that not everybody has a massive building like I have here with multiple floors and the potential for even more multiple floors, which I have plans for someday, and outbuildings. And I get that. Not some people, I mean, for years, all I had was a 3/4 car garage to build 2 cars in. I built my Model A in it, and I was also building my Pro Street GTS. And you couldn't even, I mean, you push the car in there and you could barely close the car door or the garage door. So I get what it's like to have space limitations. But even there, I had figured out that up above the garage door, I built a loft, and I was able to squirrel all kinds of stuff up above in that loft that I had built, and I had organization to that. And so my point is, where there's a will, there's a way. If you say you can't, you won't, and then you do nothing. Okay, we've got all of that equipment there, and we're going to get into what some of that stuff is at another time. I have this controller. It is a motor controller. unit like we use on the lathe and the mill. Only that thing is a monster one, and I'm going to be selling that unit. So this is another Yaskawa Verispeed, but this is a Mongo one, and this one will take your. So what we do over on the two that we have in here is we take 220 single phase in, and then it converts this into DC voltage and puts it up to 650 volts. And then in this case, it would come out at 483 phase. We have another one, a small one that we use on the mill that takes 110, puts it up to 480 single phase, 650 volts DC, and then 483 phase out also. And that's what these two controllers are here. That one's the 220 to single phase to 483 phase. And this is the 110 to 483 phase unit here. And there's transformers and all kinds of stuff. We built all that stuff here on the channel. But I have this other controller, and I don't think I need it. I've waffled back and forth on it. So I'm going to see if maybe we find a home. So if a guy has, a transformer, then with this, you can have three-phase power in your shop without using one of the cheaters or one of the motors or all that stuff. And it's a true, so you don't lose any of your amperage. Gives you a true 483 phase for your shop. It's quite cool. By the way, these do a lot more than that because they're programmable. I used to use these for building fixtures way back in the day when I was in engineering, and so they're speed controllers. As you can see, it's called an F7 Verispeed. So there's a lot of functions, and this panel pops out here, and you can connect it with a cable and do all kinds of stuff. I built a motoring rig one time that used something like that, and we would speed up a 3-cylinder 2-stroke Mercury Marine engine to study crankcase pulses for looking at using crankcase pulse for injection events and so forth. So anyway, that's all the stuff this stuff can do. So that one's a monster, and we're probably going to unload that one. So when it comes to organizing your space, I would encourage you to think through how you want to work, how you want to function, what you need staged. Like, for example, I have all of the floor pans and a torsion bar cross member for the duster there because the Forsyth duster is going to be, it has been here. I had to take it out because of the work we did on Thunderstruck. But so planning ahead, staging ahead, things like that are important. And when you're staging, just having cool stuff like this to look at is always fun. It takes up space, I know, but who really cares about the fact that this 671 blower is sitting here where I can just look at it and dream? So you probably didn't know what all that stuff was that was there up around the mill and the lathe, but that was all that engineering equipment that Chris has been bringing me as he's been gathering it from the scrap piles in places that he goes. And it's all good equipment. It all works, et cetera, et cetera. But I just hadn't had time to deal with it. So I feel like I still have so many machine tools to deal with yet. And this is what bothers me is like I get all of my tables, rotary tables and chucks and all that stuff set up here, and then stuff gets piled on it, and that drives me nuts. The same thing happened over here. I've got a lot of tooling and fixturing, and crap's getting stacked on it. So I don't have the answer for that. Flat surfaces accumulate crap. Look at the mill or the lathe. It's got empty boxes on top of it because I was taking those out to the wood burner, and we're not burning wood right now out in the outdoor burner, so they're just accumulating, so I need to deal with those. But we've made a huge amount of progress anyway, so that's good. And Thunderstruck is looking good. And I want to talk about that a little bit because this is part of what this episode is about, is just how you plan for the next phase. We got an upholstery project I got to get to here real soon, but the body cart is sitting here. Where do we put this? I really don't. I don't want to tear it apart, but I don't need it at the moment. But I'm going to need it real soon because when I take the cab back off the chassis on Thunderstruck, this is where it goes. And so it's like I just don't want to shove it outside. The cherry picker I just broke down and put over here in the corner. The cab removal tool thing that we made is back behind Thunderstruck. So yeah, what do I do with this? Like I said, I don't want to just shove it outside, but it's tempting. I could put it out and drag it around back. I don't know. I'm vacillating. I mean, it could go up there next to the truck, but I don't like that. My ideal world is I would create something and go and pick it up. And I have a couple of chain falls I could do that, but I don't think that's the wisest thing. So if you have ideas, I mean, I could stand it up on end somewhere, but it's heavy. Those are the things that I spend some time thinking about. I mean, Stitches right now is just buried with stuff that needs to be dealt with, of course, and we will. But yeah, so it's, how do I put this? If you're not doing tremendous amounts of work in your shop on multiple projects, I will say this from experience, it's pretty easy to keep things fairly organized. And um, but I don't live that way. I don't function that way. And I've talked about that before. If I was only doing one project, and that's the way it was, I would get bored super easy. I love being able to think about all of these things, and I love looking at all the cool stuff in the shop, and I love looking at that truck as it's coming together from what it was, and Stitches from where it was when it was rotted from stem to stern before we ever put it on the rotisserie. Um, to me, the enjoyment of the cars isn't just completing them and driving them, but it's the process. It's the the dream of, as I look at Stitches, knowing where it's going in its next phase, knowing how far it's come. I don't think anybody can appreciate that unless they saw that car in person, just how bad it really was. Fun Destruct is still really bad, but at least we've got a new tube chassis under it now. That kind of stuff. So anyway, that's part of what today is about. Is it's not just about organizing the shop, but it's also about putting things in place that is going to visually encourage you. I really did think about pulling the cab off of this right away. I don't want to. Again, when I walk into the shop, it's such a change in here to walk in and see this truck on all four wheels. Never has been on all four wheels like this. It was on its 1-ton chassis out back with its dump box mechanism on it. But to see this, knowing that there can be a box built for this, not anytime soon, but I've already been working on the box design, how I'm going to build it. It's going to be very simple. I've already decided what style of fenders I'm going to make for it. We're probably just going to do a wood flat rack initially, but here's the thing. If I build the frame for this flat rack the way that I'm thinking about, then all I have to do is take off some of the boards for the flat rack, put the box sides on. I'll already have the wooden floor done. You see where I'm going with that. So if I can do it in stages and modularly, is that the right word? Then that's going to make a lot of sense. So that's part of the reason I want to leave this on here, because I've been out here measuring, exactly what dimensions I'm going to need for the box and so forth. And that's important. It's as important to start thinking ahead to the next 4 steps in the project as much as it is to be banging out this fender the way we did to get it so that it's, by the way, it needs a lot more work, but so that it's at least reasonably close to what the fender should be, so that I can see where the wheel is in the opening, and everything looks really good on this truck, and I'm really liking it. But as I'm looking at this fender, I'm thinking about that one, going, it's no wonder I was struggling over there, because this fender is now closer to shape than the other one, and I can see now why I thought my wheel might not have been centered properly, because of the way that fender is bent. It's bent worse than I thought. So, blah, blah, blah. But I know I'm all over the place, but this is my mind. This is the way my mind works. It's constantly processing on multiple data streams all at once, all the time, and it's just the way I work. It's just the way I function. Even in this area, we've taken time to police the area and get things cleaned up, move the welders around so we have a better traffic flow upstairs and stuff. See, now the other thing that this has done is it allows me to come over here and look at this truck from this side. And what I was saying about the wheel well on that side, you can see it exactly what's going on here. Now, this is bent way in more than it should be, causing all kinds of issues, and we got to find some tissues. So, as we talked when we banged that fender out, the important thing is to get the contours of the fender right before you start trying to bang out all the other dents. The contour on this is wrong. I knew it was. But that's where we'll start. We'll take this fender off and we'll beat the crap out of it and get it somewhat back in place before we start working on actually trying to get the dents really out of it and start doing metal finishing and stuff like that. Oh yeah, I did find some tools. Finally, I've been looking for a while, so I'll show you those too, because I don't think you've seen me use these on the channel. I love using vintage tools. I have these two old Craftsman planishing hammers. The dies are interchangeable between the two, I believe. Um, this one's more for flat panel. That one's more for round panel. But we're going to be using these on that truck, and it's pneumatic. So we have an air hammer here, and these work really well. You know, they're a little bit awkward because you got to squeeze this up here to make it work. And the other thing I need to do is I want to put a airflow valve, because right now, if I use these the way they are, they're going to be beating the crap out of the metal and stretching the metal rather than smoothing the metal out. And we want to be really careful about that. But I've had these for, oh my goodness, I've had these for 30 years, probably more 35 years, probably. I've had these, and I haven't used them a lot, but they are really, really handy to have. And I think they're going to take those fenders a long ways closer towards being smooth, as long as we don't overdo it. We got tons of hammer and dolly work to do, but I was looking for these. That's part of the reason I was doing some of this organization and just pulling the walls back today, because I knew they were here somewhere. I had squirreled them away. I haven't used them for probably 5 years, and so fun to have them out again, and to have found where I had squirreled them back in the body shop back there. And so winner chicken dinner on that one. Last week, when we had went ahead and straightened out this front bumper, what is a back bumper off of the 47 Ford, and it had a lot more curve to it to match old Bubble Butt, big old fat fanny. Now that we have it straightened out and it's been sitting here, I've been just coming out and looking at it, and the more I look at it, the more I like it. The more I really like the way it's going to fit. Okay, I know it doesn't cover all of the fenders out there and stuff like that, but it's going to be a pretty stout piece on the front by the time I get it tied into the frame up there, because of that box tube that we put inside to straighten it out. So I'm just, and I love the fact that we're just using junk that's in my scrap pile. I mean, there's so much stuff that I pulled out of the scrap pile. The K-frame that's in this came out of the scrap pile. All of the disc brake setup came out of the scrap pile. And when I say scrap pile, I don't mean it's stuff I was going to take necessarily to scrap. It's just all this old junk that I have kicking around, I was throwing back there, and I've been digging through it and pulling it out. We've used so much of that in this project. So it's literally a junk pile build. And it's fun because I keep thinking of stuff. I wish I had another headlight like this. My father-in-law gave me this one. He found it in one of the barns over on the farm. I wish we had the match to it. But Becky and I are looking online, and we're probably going to find a newer set of hot rod headlights. The thing I don't like about a lot of the new hot rod headlights is they don't have the big curve back here. They're flat. And I really want to have that authentic vintage big old curve on there. So anyway, we're looking for lights. Is that important right now? No. So what's coming next on this? Probably going to pull the whole front clip off. I might even do this tomorrow, and start working on the motor mounts. I think it's important to get the motor mounted in the chassis where it needs to be and bolted in place, because right now it's just hanging there on a strap. And that's kind of affecting me finishing the front suspension that I need to get done. We'll see what tomorrow brings, but yeah, the shop is still an absolute train wreck. The welding bench, the back bench, still all of that stuff. But at least now I can breathe. There's more stuff. I've just been focusing on spots on the floor that need to be reined back in and stuff put away. So that's kind of my philosophy. But today really was more about me just sitting here with you on a chair and showing you stuff that's going on and what I'm working on and what my thought processes are. Because I really believe that it's not just about showing you how I fix a dent in a fender or how I build a frame or build a motor or do sheet metal work or whatever, but it's also about giving you my mindset, how I think about things, how I approach things, stuff like that. All right, that's going to do it for this one. I appreciate you being here. We'll catch you on the next one. Don't forget, It's important.